And so eventually I decided to start my own practice. And it was wonderful because I got to mold it the way I wanted. And so we have midwives, which I brought back to Alabama after a 30-year absence of midwives in
Wow.
the hospitals. We have aesthetics and wellness, as you mentioned, in a group of physicians. So it's been beautiful. Yeah, I love it.
Buckle up for a new episode of the Be podcast, the show where we have real and raw conversations to inspire and empower you to be seen and heard so you can create balance and everything you want in your life and business. I'm your host, Heidi Schock, and I'm excited to walk alongside of you on this journey of being seen, heard, and empowered. Welcome to the Be podcast. Be seen, be heard, be empowered. I'm excited to be here with you today and for you to be joining us and to be talking and bringing on my special guest today. I'm talking with Dr. Marie Reidy with Women4Women OBGYN. So welcome, Dr. Reidy, to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
I'm excited to talk with you. I have a lot of questions. So, but
Good.
before we dive in, Dr. Reidy, I'm just going to give everybody a little bit of background about you. So
Okay.
Marie Reidy is the founder and owner of Women4Women OBGYN in Huntsville, Alabama. Women4Women provides comprehensive OBGYN services, midwifery care, and aesthetic and wellness options, including a weight loss clinic and specialized menopause care by their certified menopause provider. Prior to her career as an obstetrician-gynecologist, Dr. Reidy graduated cum laude from Georgetown University Law Center and then practiced law in Cleveland, Ohio for 10 years. Wow. She obtained BA summa cum laude in classical studies from Boston College. She has been named one of the top 50 women who have shaped the state of Alabama. And Dr. Reidy is also involved in promoting racial equity through work with her husband, who is the director of a civil rights museum in Scottsboro, Alabama, the Scottsboro Boys Museum, and being founding members of the Racial Equity Fund of the Community Foundation of Greater Huntsville, Alabama. Wow. So, Dr. Reidy, let me ask you the first question I ask everyone, and then I'm going to ask you about this major pivot. Is what you're doing now something that I guess you didn't always know you wanted to be a doctor if you went to law school. And so if you practice law, so what brought you to becoming a doctor, first of all, and then going into OB/GYN medicine and pivoting? Why did you decide to do that?
So growing up, my father was a lawyer, and that kind of seemed like the path I should take. I was very interested in the humanities and reading, writing, that kind of thing. Science was not a major part of my life growing up. And so I ended up going to law school and practicing for 10 years. My brother went to law school as well. I just felt when I was finally out and in practice that I really wasn't helping people the way I wanted to in a more personal way. And so that was my feeling pretty quickly. Probably the first 5 years, I knew this was not going to be my lifetime goal. But what pivoted me to medicine was I have three daughters. And at the time that I was having my youngest, my middle daughter, who was 4 at the time, got really ill with pneumonia and was in the hospital for a long time. And I had health problems throughout the following year. And I just met some physicians then that really inspired me. And I just sort of had an epiphany that that's what I wanted to do.
Wow. So
Mhm.
during that, so what was the process? Were you able to go to school while you were still practicing law, or did you completely step away because three children and they were young at the time?
Right.
That's a lot to
Yes.
juggle.
It was. And once I figured out that I had to go back and I had to do pre-med classes and take the MCAT and do all those steps that you do, even if you're 30 something years old, I was like, okay, now that's going to take me 2 years before I even start med school. So I did all that while still practicing. But then once med school started, I left the firm and and devoted that full time. It was 4 years of med school, 4 years of residency.
Wow.
So,
So I love your story and your journey because this allows our listeners, and this is a big thing about what I love talk about is, or what I want to share with women and just people in general too, that it's never too late to change. There's never too late to pivot. And because your happiness is
mhm,
the number one priority in stepping into your passion. And many of us have done what you've done, taken a similar path, listen to what our parents tell us what we should be doing, or
mhm,
follow the path of our family just because that's what we've known, right?
right.
Maybe they don't tell us to do what they're doing, but since that's what we've known, we kind of just fall into that path. So I love that you had the courage to step into something new, especially with young children at home, and especially with a huge career that you already had and all the education and schooling that you'd already gone through. So
Right.
yeah, that's a big step. So can you walk us through, like, talking about courage, walk us through, did you have any fear about making this change and making this pivot? And if you did, how did you move through that?
Well, I didn't have fear of not succeeding because once I set my mind to something, it's going to happen. But did have some trepidation, like when I went back to classes and I was in there, basically starting over, taking undergrad classes after being out of grad school and all that. It was daunting. But I kind of caught on and was doing great in school. After the first class that I took, though, I had like a B on a test, and I was like, oh my God, I can't have any B's. If you know about pre-med, people stress about their grades and their MCAT scores and all that. So really, I think the MCAT was probably my bigger fear because I wasn't able to take all of the pre-med classes before I took the MCAT. It was going to set me back a whole nother year if I did it that way.
Mm,
So I relied on my ability to guess on a lot of the questions. And there were three scores. Two of them were science-based and one was language-based. And I had a near perfect score on the language-based ones. And the other two I did well enough on that I could get into med school. So,
that's awesome. But you did it a little messy. You didn't
yeah.
you didn't worry about being perfect. You're like, okay, I have two options. I can either wait another year and let another year go by, and you weighed the pros and cons, and you're like, I don't want to do that. So we're going to do this a little reversed. And it
Right.
worked out great. Can you walk us through the journey after you graduated from med school? Where did you go from there?
So I had gone into med school thinking I probably wanted to be an OBGYN, but everyone told me you're not going to want to do that once you see the lifestyle. You keep your mind open. So I tried to keep my mind open, but I knew I was just drawn to that. So I did, you do this match thing where you get into residency, and I re matched right where I was already in Cleveland, Ohio at University Hospital. So that was perfect. I didn't have to move the family, although we did move after residency. But we can get into that story later. But residency is by far the hardest time of my life, working over 100 hours a week and
Wow.
having three little kids and trying to learn at the same time. My husband was super supportive, and I think that was obviously a major key to my success.
Yeah. So what does that support look like? Was it challenging for you to ask for help, or was he just like jumped in and take the
Mhm.
reins? I know a lot of women, for
Yeah.
us, it's hard to sometimes ask for help. We think we can hold it all together all the
Mhm.
time and juggle many
Right.
different things. So did that come easy for you, or was that something you needed to learn too? Like, I get to do this in order to get to the goal that I have.
Right. He was very willing to jump in. For us women, it's hard to see things done a little differently than we would do, right? Like getting the
Right.
kids ready for school, getting their hair done. Three girls, they always want their hair perfect and having the right clothes clean and everything every day. That wasn't his strong suit, but he managed, and because I would be leaving sometimes at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning to go to work. But actually, that's some of the funnest memories the kids have of their growing
Yeah.
up is having their dad do silly things while they're getting ready and dropping them off at school.
Yeah, they had that time with him that
Hmm.
they wouldn't have had it otherwise, probably.
Probably.
So what did it mean when they were telling you your colleagues were like keep an open mind of the lifestyle you may not like? What does the lifestyle mean
Hmm.
of an OBGYN?
Yeah, it's if you look at all the specialties out there, it's probably one of the hardest in terms of the call that we take, like at night and on the weekends, where you can be thrown into a very tenuous situation without a moment's warning. You can be called and be like, this patient showed up, her baby's heart rate is down, we need to go right now, and you're running in and,
Mm.
hopefully saving a life. So it's high pressure, very high pressure. The parents are always wanting everything to be perfect about their baby, of course. And when things go wrong, things go very wrong. And so most of the time it's a happy field, and patients are happy to see you at their appointments, which is not the case with most doctors. But so I love it, but the stress and the hours are pretty much the downsides.
Hmm. So
Hmm.
how do you juggle that? Or how did you? Your daughters are
Hmm.
grown now. You have
Hmm.
grandchildren now. Seven, you told me behind the scenes. This is amazing. So you have a beautiful big family. How did you juggle that lifestyle, those hours with your family? I know that you had already done it with residency.
Right.
And did the hours decrease a little to where it felt like it was like better than it was? So at least it wasn't as tenuous, I guess is the word.
It was more manageable once I went into private practice because I could take call from home rather
Mhm.
than staying at the hospital for those shifts. And I we live close to the hospital, so I think a lot of what happened was kind of invisible to the kids because I was doing it in the middle of the night, or the stress, I wasn't necessarily showing that. Although my middle daughter, she's a physician now, and she says that she really didn't want to go into medicine because she saw how hard it was and how much strain it is, and but it kept calling her too, and so
Mhm.
she's the one that had the pneumonia too. So one day I said to her, "Do you know if that hadn't happened, if it hadn't been for you, I wouldn't be a physician today." And this is when she was like 8 years old, and she goes, "Well, don't blame me."
Ah, that's funny and cute at the same time. So what is she doing now? What field did she step into?
She's an anesthesiologist, and we
Mm,
actually work together
I
times
was going to
in
ask you if you do.
cases.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so that's
amazing.
neat
And that's a high pressure job as well,
for
career.
sure.
Yeah, for
Mhm.
sure. So kudos to you and kudos to her for stepping into the medical space. It's not an easy journey. So Women for Women, you founded Women for Women practice. That
Mhm.
has a story in its own too. So how did that come to be?
So that when I went into private practice, I never pictured myself starting my own practice. I wanted to join an already established group and hopefully an all-female group because in OB that's a kind of a marketing advantage. And that's what I did at first. But I kept always trying to fit myself into a mold that wasn't meant for me. It just was a different situation. My partners were not as involved with their patients as I don't want to. They're both good physicians, but we just didn't have the right mix. And so eventually I decided to start my own practice, and it was wonderful because I got to mold it the way I wanted. And so we have midwives, which I brought back to Alabama after a 30-year absence of midwives in
Wow.
the hospitals. So certified nurse midwives, we have aesthetics and wellness as you mentioned, in a group of physicians. So it's been beautiful. Yeah, I love it.
Did you have when you decided to make that step, because that's another pivot and unexpected, something you never really planned on doing? Were there any challenges you faced with that decision or that move when you got started?
Well, yeah, I mean, it kind of rose from the ashes of the other practice. I mean, the practice kind of fell apart, and I even had to get involved in a lawsuit with them. And once that settled, we had 9 months from when I settled it to when was going to start my practice. And so it's like a gestation, like a pregnancy.
Mm.
And so I had to still practice in that group for 9 months while setting up Women for Women. And so talk about a hostile work environment. It was tough, definitely. Also, I had people saying some things that I wanted to do. Everyone was saying you can't do that, and I was like, we'll see. For instance, I wanted to have the office close on Friday so that everyone could have a 4-day work week, not just the physician or not just the top people. And everyone was saying, "Oh, you can't do that. OB patients need to have their appointments on Fridays. They're not going to come to you." And it's been great. It has not been a problem. I've also been told that why would you bring back midwives? The insurance not going to cover it. The hospital's not going to go for this. You're not going to be able to have them be there without you having to be there too at the same time. And it didn't. It worked out very, very well. And it's a booming practice. The midwives have a lot of patients who self-select to have that kind of holistic care that they can provide.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I love that you were like, okay, people gave you feedback and feedback's welcome, right? It doesn't
Right.
mean we have to accept it. And you didn't let anybody else's their opinions sway what you wanted to do. And I think that's a big gold nugget for this conversation. So
Mhm.
for those of you listening, and literally one of our clients, I just shared content that he had written, and it was the same thing: create possibilities when other people don't let possibilities, like, what did he said something like lean into possibilities even when others are seeing misery. So when others even think that it's not possible, as long
Mhm.
as you hold on to that possibility and stay true to you, everything is possible, right?
Right.
So
Right. And
yeah.
do your own research. Don't take people's word for things. They're just repeating things they've heard from other people a lot of
Yeah.
times.
And they're not in everything. There's always something that's out there that just somebody hasn't tried yet. Just because it's not being done doesn't mean
Mhm.
it's not possible. Beat your own drum, right? Go for
Right.
it. What's the worst that can happen? It doesn't work, right? Okay, well, maybe there's just a small tweak that needs to be done to make it work. So I love that you created exactly what you wanted to create.
Mhm.
One, you weren't afraid to, you obviously you worked hard as a lawyer. You got
Mhm.
that. You went through all of that schooling, education, the bar, everything, practiced law for 10 years. Your heart was calling you somewhere else. You could have ignored it. We can always ignore that inner voice.
Right.
You listen to it. And I think that's another key takeaway. We're recording this at the end of 2025. So we're in December of 2025. This will air in 2026. So for those of you listening, uh, whether if you have not stepped into what you want to step into yet before you're hearing this, this is your sign. This is your message that you get to, if there's a voice inside of you that's telling you something, take the time to listen to it. Don't just ignore it and push it off. Even if you're thinking, oh my gosh, but so many people are relying on me in this space, I can't make this pivot or I can't make this change. Take the time for you to sit back and go, okay, what's possible? What's possible to make this happen for me? Because at the end of the day, there's too many people at the end of our lives, that at the end of their lives, that look back and go, I wish I would have. And by then
Mhm.
there comes a point where unfortunately it is too late. It's never too late to make the pivot, but sometimes when the end is here, you don't want to look back and have those regrets.
Regret.
So thank you for being here and sharing all of this in your journey. I'm curious what you do for you. You're a successful OBGYN. You're the leader of a practice. You have 7 grandchildren, 3 children, 3 daughters, a husband. You're active in the other things the other organizations we talked about. You paved the way for major changes in your state of Alabama. So what do you do for you? How do you take care of Dr. Reidy?
Well, I'm a big believer in self-care. So I have a yoga practice I do several times a week. I also do some other exercise, which really helps my mindset. I have taken up like a pretty much a new hobby every year. So last year or 2 years ago was like taking up crocheting, and so I make little stuffed animals for
Ah,
the grandkids. And then last year I was learning Spanish, and I love to travel. I am involved with the International Women's Forum, which is an international women's leadership group, and I go to conferences and I get inspired whenever I go to something like that. I think I take time for myself whenever I feel like I need it. That doesn't mean it's always a balance, though. We were talking earlier, sometimes, work is taking priority, sometimes family is, but you just strive for the balance you can have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
So, do you have any for the women listening, if they're like, so many people rely on me. I have this thing I really want to do or lean into, but I'm scared to make that pivot. I'm scared to make that change, or I'm scared to disappoint others. Do you have any
Mhm.
piece of advice that you can share from your experience and your journey?
Yes, for sure, because it was hard to make that decision. I had the steady paycheck in the family. My husband's job was more based on commissions and things like that. So that was a fear financially. Impact on my children was a fear as well. And I told myself, well, at the very least, I'm going to be a good role model of someone who followed their dream. And I think that has worked out to be true. They are all well-adjusted women and doing well in their own spheres. So, I mean, I have the ability of hindsight to see that things worked out, but I just think that if you're meant to do something, you should do it because life is short. You're not going to have another chance, and you need to surround yourself with people who are going to support you in that, though. And I was fortunate, not just family, but I had bankers that wanted to support and finance the business, things like that, that really, if you've made good relationships along the way, they're going to come and help you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned, or thank you for sharing that. So you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned earlier you have also aesthetic and wellness pieces,
Mm-hmm.
portions of your practice. So can you tell us a little bit about what those are and what that looks like?
Yes, sure. I had had patients ask me for years before I started the practice, I wish I could just come to you for this. Why don't you do this? And because I already trust you. And so that was kind of the impetus. And we started out with just doing injections like Botox and filler. I had cool sculpting was one of the first things that we started. We also had a vaginal laser procedure called Mona Lisa Touch, which is wonderful for women. And then we built from there and we've added different modalities. I now have two full-time employees in that space that are not the injectors, but they do all the other procedures that we offer. So we have also the weight loss clinic, as you mentioned. So it's just grown organically over the years. There was a point where I said, we really need to take the next step and hire someone to be a full-time aesthetics manager. You do realize you do to come to some crossroads when you're trying to build something, and that was one of our crossroads.
Yeah, and it's very true. Women, we have this, I think the relationship with their OBGYN is different than a
Mhm.
relationship with other doctors.
Mhm.
Becomes very personal. It's not a most comfortable situation. And then for those of us that are having children, having babies, we're very nervous and we're putting our lives and our baby lives in the hands of our OBGYN. So I can completely understand where that trust factor is a huge piece of when we're, especially when we're like, okay, we just had babies. We're not feeling great about ourselves. We want to like do some touch ups or figure out what we can do to make ourselves self-care for us, right? Who
Right.
do we trust? And to go to a new doctor and then worry that are they going to harm us or are we making a decision we shouldn't be making for ourselves? We already trust that they already trust you. So I think and you saw a need, right? People came to you,
Right.
they said, we want this, we need this. And you're like, okay, great. Let me see how I can fill that for
Hmm.
you. So, and it's a win-win for all of you. Your
Right.
patients already know you. They're already used to coming to you. If they're comfortable in your office and they're comfortable with your team, and it's a win for you because now it's just another revenue stream for you as well. And you can, and now
Right.
bring on other people, employ other people, and build something even greater. So,
Mhm.
thank you for sharing all of that. How can people connect with you, Dr. Reidy, and learn more about Women for Women OBGYN?
So we have a Facebook page, Instagram page, small little TikTok, not much there, but if you Google Women for Women with the number four between it, not the word FOR, but the number four, Women for Women OBGYN, you'll find all of that in our website as well.
Yes, it's women4womenhsv.com, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So that's the website, and you can reach out to Dr. Reidy. We'll have all of her links and everything in the show notes as well. So if you're driving, no worries, we've got you. Dr. Reidy, I have a question for you. Is there anything behind the scenes, a little fun fact about you? We know about your children, we know about your journey, that we wouldn't know from coming to you as a patient or checking out your website or even seeing you on social?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that comes to mind is that I actually met my husband in Rome, Italy, and we were both little starry-eyed juniors in college on a junior year abroad, and we met over there, and then fell in love and got married out of college, and have been together now for 40 some years. And we love to go back to Italy, and we were just in Rome in October, and it's just nice to be back where you started, and
Yeah.
so we love to do that.
Oh, congratulations on 40 years. That's amazing.
Yeah,
You don't
thank
hear that
you.
often anymore. So I love it. Was he from Alabama as well?
No, he's from upstate New York, and I was originally from Ohio.
Okay.
And we would never have crossed paths because his college was in New York State. I was at Boston College, but we just happened to show up at the same program for a semester. He was there for 2 semesters, but I was only there for the first one. So,
Wow. So yeah, this is another big lesson. Be open to saying yes, right?
right.
Be open to opportunities, be open to being a yes when things cross your path. I know it's very easy for the word no to come out of our mouths. And so be leave that door open for new opportunities to cross your path, because like Dr. Reidy said, she would have never met the love of her life had she not gone to Rome and had him not done the same. So what brought you to Alabama? I know you said you made a move. So was that after
Right.
you graduated med
From
school?
the residency.
Mhm.
I finished residency, and where we were in Cleveland, Ohio, a great city, but it's not great for OBGYN. It was pretty stagnant population. The malpractice rates were super high, so that no one could really even own their own practice. They couldn't afford to do that. And so the income was also kind of topped out at a lower level. So I looked into the Southeast, which was a much better area to practice in. And then I got recruited to Huntsville. So we took that step not knowing anyone in Huntsville, and it thankfully worked out. And now 2 of the 3 daughters are in the area, and the other one is back in Ohio, so she comes down quite a bit.
I was going to ask you if your daughter stayed in Alabama too. So,
Yeah.
so
Well,
my final question for you, Dr. Reidy, is if you could have lunch with anyone, alive or deceased, who would it be and why?
my idol is Michelle Obama.
Mhm.
I would love to someday meet her.
Mhm.
She is always so poised, always so articulate, so smart, involved in world affairs, but also knows how to have fun and knows how to use style. I'm into style as well, so she's just my idol. That's who I would have lunch with.
Well, if anybody listening has a connection with Michelle
Yeah,
Obama,
that would be awesome.
let them send her Dr. Reidy's way. And Dr. Reidy, if you ever have that lunch or dinner, let me know. I would love
I
to.
will.
Yeah, well,
Thanks.
want to hear all about it. So, for those of you listening, if you're watching us on YouTube, thank you. Dr. Reidy and I say hello. Please leave her a comment below and hit that subscribe button. We would love for you to hit that so that way you're pinged when we have other amazing guests like Dr. Reidy on the show. If you know of anybody that could benefit from hearing Dr. Reidy today, her story, her journey, her message, her services, please share this, because the goal is to get this out to more women so we can empower themselves to be seen and heard for themselves, for their relationships, for their health, and for their careers and business. And Dr. Reidy's journey encompasses all three of those areas. Also, self-care. She also shared with you how she takes care of herself. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, thank you. We're grateful for you. We'd love a review of 5 stars, preferably. And if you have the opportunity to leave a comment, we'd love to hear it. Who knows, we will start sharing those on here. And that helps the platform to push this podcast out to more women, which is what we're shooting for. We want more women to hear from our amazing guests, like Dr. Reidy today. And if you know of any women that would benefit from, again, hearing her story and her journey, please share the podcast with those women. Dr. Reidy, before I let you go, is there anything that you'd like to share or final words that I didn't get to ask you or we didn't touch on today?
I mean, it's been a wonderful conversation. I've really enjoyed talking to you, and hopefully, this will help other women, like you said, be seen, heard, and empowered. That's definitely part of my motto as well. So that's all. Just thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. You're a very busy lady, so I appreciate your time tremendously. Thank you for sharing your journey, your story, your wisdom with us. And thank you all for listening to Dr. Reidy and I today on the Be podcast. I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. In the meantime, be empowered to be seen and heard.